So we called this meeting today to talk about a couple of things. One is to just prepare ourselves for town meeting, and the other, I invited Jed Goldstone, who's the chair of the Board of Health.
Not quite.
Pardon me?
We'll talk about it. Not quite the chair, because we didn't, it wasn't listed, we're gonna.
Oh, I see. Potential future chair.
You're the waiting person.
Because we saw in the paper that Board of Health, I wasn't aware I would have attended the meeting, but we saw afterwards that there was a meeting and you guys discussed the short-term rental bylaw and seemed like you weren't too happy with it. And so we're here to explain why it is what it is and see if you have any suggestions for us. So the reason, and maybe Eric would be the one to kick off the reasoning. I mean, were advised by Town Council Maura O'Keefe that all rentals are under the purview of the Board of Health. And when you register any rental, you go to the health department and register with the health agent. So the system is already in place of, managing rentals. And it was just, in her opinion, the proper place for it to be managed. We are understanding that it is a workload and there will be a person needs to be hired, maybe two. We'll also know that we need to hire a company to manage this, a computer program and a company that runs it to help, store the data and facilitate potentially, there's one company that facilitates self-inspections by owners via video, where they walk through and say, here's my smoke detector, and they push the button, and they show all the conditions and railings and, all the safety features that are in the house. So that's one thing that's being considered. But it's up to the town manager to decide which company is chosen and what services are going to be provided by a subcontractor and what services would be provided by a town. And whether or not there'd be inspections by actual town staff isn't really clear yet. I know I saw the minutes of your meeting that Mr. Hoyfelder had mentioned something about the need to have inspections. If you're going to provide a registration or a license, it comes with an inspection of some sort. So I think that was one of the bigger concerns. I'd like to hear your suggestions on what the main concerns are.
So since we're on TV, Jed Goldstone, member of the Board of Health. Eventually, once we get the posted, we were posted incorrectly for a vote. So
I see.
So as of Monday, presumably chair, but
almost chair.
Town meeting member for precinct 2.
Okay.
So let me kind of briefly recap some of the sense of the Board of Health, the discussions of the Board of Health. There was a lot of concern about the staffing requirements to do inspections. We know that there are at least 800 short-term rentals, probably more than that. Mm-hmm. If they are to be inspected once a year, that would probably be 2 full-time inspectors in addition to any staff that we have now. So we have about 4.5, I think is what it is. Mm-hmm. Yes.
With a 2-year license, why do you envision annual inspections?
If it's a 2-year inspections, then that's fine.
In the bylaw.
I want to point to guidance from the state as of August that there needs to be an annual building inspection. That's something that was as of August 7th, 2025, I think is the posting.
I would think that if that, I don't know about that, but wouldn't that be on all rentals then?
They had guidance specific to short-term. In theory, all rentals. The problem is that we don't know about all the long-term rentals in town. We don't have any, unless they register, right. We don't have any way of tracking them. Mm-hmm. We don't have any information on them. The board's several members of the board in particular, very strong perspective was that the public health priority should be the long-term rentals, because if you're a short-term rental, you can go home. If it's not okay, you just leave. Mm-hmm. Or you But if it's your home and it's inadequate in some, deficient in some way, you can't go home, it is your home. And we do not inspect long-term rentals on an annual or a semi-annual, or really at all, except by complaint. We don't have the staff.
Right.
So were we to have the staff, I think the priority of the health department would, and of the Board of Health's perspective, would be that long-term rentals far outweigh short-term rentals as a priority for anything.
Yeah.
And so that is a very, very strong perspective from certain members of the board. And so the concern is with scarce public health resources. For example, restaurant inspections should be above, for that matter, even long-term rental inspections, because that's a far more important public health function. For that matter, disease surveillance, which we subcontract out, we only have a little bit of part-time on that, is also, these are things that we are fortunate that we haven't been caught in, but things that we are, as a town, we're okay. We've been okay for a while, but we don't know. And those are really, really important public health functions.
Right.
So what is your recommendation? I mean, just for starting points, I'll let others speak, but I just cannot adequately express my frustration at you and other members of the Board of Health for boycotting us, not coming to one meeting, not making any specific recommendations. I haven't heard a specific recommendation. I'd like to hear it. My reaction about what you said is, why does that affect us? We at no point have said at any meeting, any one member of our committee has said, we need the Board of Health to do annual inspections. You all have put this in reverse, because a couple of you have said, oh, well, if we have a registration, we've got to do this. We have never said that. That's for you to figure out. And if your priority is long-term rentals, great. But that's just not our purview. And we never once have suggested you need to do the annual rentals. That came from, I forget the member of the Board of Health who just was so insistent that if you have a registration, we must do inspections.
I think the perspective is, if there is a registration fee, that is a substantial registration fee, then those people who are registering their rentals should get something for it. Otherwise, it's just a tax. And if they're not getting anything from it, then that we should be, again, that member's perspective was, then we should be upfront about that it's just a fee, and it doesn't guarantee them anything. And it doesn't necessarily, by registering and saying that we're okaying them as a rental, it means that without an inspection, the town is open to liability.
Do you share that?
Yeah. So my general feeling is that really, those arguments have essentially been waived by a refusal to come to any of the committee, or frankly, even to send those comments in writing to the committee, or to make that position clearer wait, let me please, if I may. And that the first position is essentially one of waiver, but I disagree with quite a bit of what you said. I don't think, first of all, that it's the Board of Health's position or role to consider liability for the town. The question of assessing liability is the job of town council, not the Board of Health. It's just not what you do. So I think that if you're asking whether or not we think this will expose the town to liability, my answer is, it's been approved by town council. No, we don't. And if you disagree with that, I think there's some obligation to adhere to the counsel of our department, right? This is what we do. So I will answer the liability question, no, I don't think that's an issue, and I don't think it's even something that should really be being considered, other than to ask town council if we think it's an issue. Regarding the annual inspections, some municipalities can ask for them, others don't. I think that the question of whether the registration fee is an issue is something that this committee has already discussed and has already considered and has also already been approved by town council. So I don't think that's a legal issue either.
Yes, Charlotte?
You all set?
I'm done.
Thank you. I feel the same way Tom does, but less vehemently, I guess. But still, I feel it strongly. The planning board initiated this almost 2 years ago, that we really needed to do something about short-term rentals before they gobbled up our long-term rentals and our housing supply. It just seemed a problem that we needed to solve. And I think the people who came before us to speak to that kind of reassured us that, yes, we're on the right track. And the other communities on the Cape that have already addressed it and are beginning to address it made us feel confident, yeah, we're dealing with something actually in a timely way before it turns into a big problem. So Scott McGann, the health commissioner, diligently attended all the meetings under the planning board and attended nearly 100% of the meetings from the select board advisory council. So we haven't been without advice from the health department, and we haven't been actually without reassurance from the rest of the leadership for the town. And I spoke to Mr. Renshaw just yesterday about this, because he is on record as supporting the bylaw that we have put forward.
And making sure it's funded.
And that the health department reports to him, and that he would see to it that if this is what the town meeting passes, that that's what he will be looking to administer and manage. So we feel confident of that. Next point, and then I'll stop. At the last, not sure of the hearings, but it was a hearing that was held over at Gus Canty, the new meeting place. I went particularly because I wanted to make the point that the bylaw, as we have formed it together and as the law provides two opportunities to see to it that it sort of is self-financing if the town wishes it to be. And one is in the registration fee. Many places, New York City prominently, but others decided, you know, they're going to pay for this, and they'll pay for the staffing, and you can do it through the fees that you charge. And the other is through the fines, because the people who actually then go ahead and do whatever they damn please and get fined, they bear a greater responsibility for the burden of paying the cost of administration. So there's two chances for the town, if it wants to make the new bylaw self-financing. All the bylaws of the town, including safety laws, our biggest safety laws are policed, and we have a well-staffed police department. They're in a way...
Understaffed.
Understaffed, is that?
That's my view.
Understaffed.
I believe they're understaffed.
Well, I live in sort of a problem-free neighborhood, so I'm not aware of that. But anyway, we have that. And they actually are complaint-driven. It's all complaint-driven. We can't possibly have enough people out there inspecting everything to get stuff before everything happens, so it's all complaint-driven. So in a way, this bylaw won't be any different from that. It won't be different. And if the experience of Provincetown, and I keep saying that, and Plymouth is any example to us, it turns out there aren't that many complaints. So we'll see. Really, I'm sorry that the health department, went off in that direction. I wish they had stayed with us more, but we did have Scott.
Let me clarify. So the health department and the Board of Health are two different things.
Right.
The Board of Health commented, I believe in October, prior to the last town meeting, that they did not feel that there was a proper role for the Board of Health in this. Now, I have just stepped into, I wasn't even vice chair or chair, so we were not provided with a copy of the bylaw prior to the select board discussing it. Prior to it being put on the warrant.
It was posted on our website.
Well, but if you want us to talk about it, you got to ask us to talk about it.
We asked you to.
We
come
asked you
in.
to come and you boycotted us.
Can I
That's just
just-
not fair.
So Scott came, and he would occasionally bring us information, and so it's not. I don't want to put it at Scott's door, but I also want to point out that we do meet every other Monday, but we also tend to meet for about 4 hours every other Monday. So we have been very busy. We have dealt with typical housing complaints do consume, when they get to the Board of Health, they consume a huge amount of time. They consume a very large fraction of Scott's time. And that's the long-term rentals, it's not short-term rentals. With your point about P-Town and Plymouth, P-Town is its own beast. Their ratio of full-time to part-time residents is completely different from Falmouth. I think they're not actually a good comparator. Plymouth actually is the other way around, and the Plymouth health agent feels that short-term rentals are more important than almost anything that she does. So we're kind of, realistically, those are not great comparators to our situation because of the ratio of rentals to full-time residents. So I think we do need to look at a lot of the different situations. Some of them are put under, the regulations are put under the select board. If there is a requirement from the state for building inspections, it could be under the building department and under the inspectional services of the building department, rather than putting it on health, which again, the board feels the health department has far, far, far higher priorities. Now, if it's only complaint driven, and if you're willing to accept that, then we can maybe figure something out. But we might need to look very carefully at the language. So, I mean, I haven't been living with it. I've got stuff for work due and things like that. But if we can look at the precise language and possibly figure out some way to make sure that the nuisances that are, because we're not going to be able to respond to nuisances in real time, but the nuisance complaints go to the police.
Yeah, that's already.
Right.
Right. That's typical, and that's Falmouth bylaw. It's already covered. I mean, realistically, any rental is already covered by Chapter 2 of the State Sanitary Code, the Housing Code, sorry. So.
Jed, could I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. Do you know that state law places the responsibility for rentals in the Board of Health and the Health Commissioner?
It
That's
does.
state law.
It does.
That's not us.
And so in that regards, I think the perspective of the board member who is commenting on that is that it's already covered and that this bylaw is completely redundant in that regards.
But it's not redundant at all, because right now, there's no mechanism for people to get contact on short-term rentals. The people come and go, and by the time the
Right. I mean, if
complaint's
we're gonna-
addressed, it's the next day. This has a mechanism for registration, providing a phone number that's going to be monitored 24 hours a day. If there's a problem in the middle of the night, the person who's responsible has to answer the phone and deal with it, or they're at risk of losing their registration.
So if we just say that it's registration to the Board of Health and not imply anything else,
What language?
I don't know, I don't have it right in front of me, so I'll have to
Well,
look at it.
we're sort of at the time when we need, specific suggestions. I had hoped to get that today, but it's Liz's turn.
Sorry.
Then I have another comment.
So I think what I would like to focus on is a way to make the conversation more productive. Jed has approximately 10 more minutes, and then he has to go.
Yep.
And so the looking back of you were invited and you didn't come, that's not a helpful conversation, I think, at this point. I think that what Jed just said is an interesting component where if we're focusing on the registration aspect, I think there are ways that we can look at the inspection component to make it more, potentially more palatable. And I think that one option is to maybe talk with management about the possibility of setting a registration fee that is such that there's a partner that can help with these self-inspections like Doug is talking about. And that is a way to manage that workload.
Well, so
What
the
if it
town,
involves amending the bylaw that's already been published and is going to town meeting?
Right, but Section 9 is inspection. It's got it covered. So first of all, it's permissive. Short-term rentals may be subject. It's not just to the Board of the Health Department, but it says Fire Rescue Department and Building Department. I don't know how this needs any changes. You know, I think Town Council drafted this in an excellent way, and I just don't know what's missing.
so there's the opportunity for any department to take over the inspections, or also the opportunity that we may find that the owners can do their own inspection and do a certification. And I understand what you said, that maybe you feel like the owners are being, cheated because they're not getting a service, but at the same time, I would suspect the majority of people would rather not have to have an inspection if they could certify that they have working smoke alarms
I
and
think
everything
if we
is.
were to subcontract self-certification, that would then not be an additional load on the health department.
Yeah, and these things aren't worked out. This basically, as Scott put it, is basically a registration program for now, and a contact information for people when there's problems.
Right.
Because that's the biggest problem that we have is when owners are not careful who they rent to and they don't pay attention to what's going on at the house, that's when sometimes there's problems.
Doug?
Yes, sir.
I think very important is just the perspective of what do they get other than this being a tax. The framework of one of the reasons we need this bylaw, I'm not sure if the Board of Health is aware, but we're on exceptionally shaky grounds. Courts overwhelmingly that have looked, there's no provision in our bylaws right now. This is a complete regulatory board. No, please, let me just get this thought out. Courts overwhelmingly that have looked at this have said that short-term rentals are a prohibited commercial activity in a residential area. So people who get the registration and license are allowed to have commercial activity within the purview of the bylaw that they would not otherwise have. That's a very important thing they are getting in their license fee. This is not a tax.
I actually agree that short-term rentals, as they are now, without this bylaw, are, in my opinion, but clearly not in the town's opinion, commercial accommodations, and therefore by zoning, illegal in residential areas. But that's not how it's been enforced. So
It's been an area, absolutely been an area of
when we did talk, we
non-enforcement.
actually talked
Yeah.
about it last year. But,
Yeah.
Liz, did you have something else?
I do have, in terms of amendments on town meeting floor, as a town meeting member, I have a comment, which is different than my role as on the Board of Health. And that is the artificial constraint of 2 people per bedroom. Many are 2 people per bedroom plus 2, which allows for a more realistic, since we, personally, we use Airbnbs and VRBOs or whatever else when we travel as appropriate. That is a sort of a more reasonable one that accommodates those times when there's actually 3 beds in a room and you have kids. So that's a precinct 2 town meeting member comment, not a health.
I will say that we did consider changing that because
Heather was-
Heather gave us
your
those
spouse,
suggestions,
right.
same suggestion, but Scott actually pointed out that that kind of opens the door to some of the problems that we're trying to address, because we have a particular case in point where there's a big giant room filled with a bunch of bunk beds and beds. It's not being used by kids. It was being used for kind of wild parties.
Right.
And so if we are not creating some kind of a management tool that restricts the limit of number of people, then we're not really curing that particular problem. And the other thing that Scott pointed out was that it's a standard that maybe there could be flexibility, but I don't know how that would, we weren't really clear how that was, what he was alluding to there.
Because we're complaint-based.
Right.
There, so
You can
it's
count
gonna,
it.
you'll get whatever, and then until there's an issue. And so the question is whether or not a town wants to go after everybody who's got, 5 people in a 2-bedroom house, 'cause
I don't think anybody wants to go after anybody, but when there's a problem, we need to have some way to
Count.
control it.
Right, the town won't go after them, the neighbors will. It's when there are too many cars, there's too much noise, and it's too continuous, it's weekend after weekend.
Right, so then, that's a nuisance, and that's not a function of the Board of Health.
And it won't be, because the phone number will be posted, and the person on, the neighbor can look it up and say, 78 whatever drive is a problem, where's that phone number? And they'll be able to call.
And then, but my point is, and I think, the board's point is that those complaints will come into the Board of Health, and that, for that sort of thing, that's not the appropriate location for that.
Those complaints will go to the person that's responsible for the short-term rental, who
But
is
then
either the owner
ultimately,
or the manager.
ultimately, since what we see is often a tenant-landlord dispute that eventually escalates to the Board of Health. Scott sees them a lot, and then eventually they go to the Board of Health, and then they go to housing court.
I think
That
this is
stuff
going to be
in-
very different, because they're not going to be complaining about missing handrails and
Right.
moldy showers. They're going to be complaining about noise, and it's going to be over the same day. It's going to be dealt with the same day, because the person's going to answer the phone.
But when the person doesn't answer the phone, when it escalates to the police showing up, or when it's going to end up that the residents are going to call the health department. And I'm trying to make sure and protect the fact that we have an understaffed health department. We are really kind of at the edge of where we should be.
You wanted to distinguish between the Board of Health and the Health Department. The Health Department will have to deal with that, not the Board of Health. The administration will have to
Yes,
take care of it.
and the health department answers to 2 masters. And the challenge is that as the Board of Health, we are responsible for the health of the population of Falmouth. Through that, we delegate powers to the health agent, who is an employee and responds to, he is 2 layers above him, to the town manager. And so it is our responsibility to make sure that he's doing his job. So yes, we don't have, it's not a straightforward, we can just say he does whatever. It is our responsibility to advocate to the town manager and to town meeting for sufficient budget for him to do what he needs to do.
Absolutely, and that is part of the analysis that's going to be done. So they've already got the $50,000 to hire the contractor that will work with this system and provide information and background of how these things get implemented. And then we're going to analyze how many hours are going to be needed, and there's going to be staff hired to go with it.
And that's all fabulous information that would, like, the board, put it this way, the Board of Health is not going out looking for work. We do attend the water, occasionally, somebody makes it to the Water Quality Management Committee. I apologize that somebody hasn't been coming here regularly, but it is, I feel that it is, to a degree, a responsibility for people who feel strongly that the board should do, to come to us as well. So, yes, I'm sorry, Liz.
Well, I know you have to get going. I was wondering, so you have a meeting on Monday evening?
We have a Monday, yes, I'm also meeting with the town manager tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So-
I'm wondering, is this item on your Monday meeting
It
agenda?
is, yes, it's on my agenda with the town manager tomorrow and on Monday.
Okay,
So-
because I think it would be helpful for our group to consider
Sure.
having one of us attend that meeting so that we can have some
welcome.
open and direct communication.
Yes, Eric?
Can I ask just one follow-up? The one thing that I don't want to miss is, as far as I can tell, you've only proposed one specific amendment, which is one regarding bedrooms. And you
That was a
did-
personal.
Yeah, and no, and you did that in the personal. You haven't proposed any specific amendments on behalf of the Board of Health. Do you want to propose? Is your plan?
Because the board has not discussed specific amendments,
Maybe that'll come out on Monday.
that would be something that we could talk about, and I, as a new chair, I can actually steer the discussion in that regards. And if that's a request from this committee, then absolutely, we can talk about that.
I am certainly, I'm not on the committee. I'm not asking for amendments.
Well,
I
it's
just
already
wanted
gone to
make sure I
print,
didn't
but we
miss
can
it.
certainly still continue to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have a more specific sense of, rather than like what components of the bylaw are really the sticking points.
Maybe we can just talk
And-
through it while at your meeting Monday, and maybe the concerns will be,
And it may be. I
And
mean,
maybe your meeting
this
with
dis-
Mike will be helpful too.
Right, and this discussion has helped me, because I'm not necessarily, personally, I'm not necessarily opposed to the board's, to the health department's, a degree of the health department's role in this. So, but the board in general is, and several people are very strongly opposed to it.
okay, well,
So,
I can check my calendar.
so that's like, it's, again,
So when and where?
we really do feel short-term rentals are kind of low on the things we should be dealing with.
Could you say again when and where that meeting is?
The meeting is 5:30 Monday in this room. 5:30 to,
Yeah.
we have typically gone 9-ish. So we have a posted agenda because Scott had to go, Scott's on vacation. So it's posted somewhere. I don't know what time.
Yeah, I'm actually on the,
He was potentially going to amend it. I don't know if he did or not.
there's a agenda posted for March 16th. Let's see.
Aren't they an appointed body?
And the timings,
They can quit.
the timings are sort of reasonable,
No, seriously.
not completely unreasonable.
Yeah, it's got about 7:20,
I don't know what's before it, so.
IA system monitoring performance data.
Yeah, if there may be some hearings, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7:20 is probably not unreasonable.
Okay. Well, we
I
can,
have to look what else is there, because there may be something complicated with the engineers.
Right.
okay.
so I think, yeah, we
Right.
can make an effort
gonna-
for one of us, or we'll
Yeah.
figure that out amongst ourselves.
I put it on my calendar, and if we have more than enough people, then maybe we'll have to post it as a meeting of our own, too.
Oh, right.
Right.
It depends on how many people want to go.
Yeah.
Given that this is one of many topics I have to talk with the town manager tomorrow, is there some opinions that you would, of yours, that you would like me to filter appropriately?
About this,
Yes.
I would think it's perfect and ready to go to town meeting.
I think the biggest one for me would be to get his sense of the reality. How possible is it, how much of this can we contract out, right?
Right.
In that workload mindset. And he would have a much better sense
Right.
than we will of the inner workings and how that would function.
But I think also for you to hear from him that, they're committed to make this work and that this be properly staffed to the extent possible, self-funded. So to the extent you all think we're underfunded and this is another burden, this is one that comes with money.
That was my opinion, because we could use it to actually, like, extra money to do the long-term inspections that we are not doing.
Well, that might be something to talk to Mr. Renshaw about tomorrow, because
Yeah.
right now, the idea is that they're going to try to figure out the cost of administering this, and that's going to set the registration fee.
Yeah, I think it'd be important for the Board of Health to know from the administration all the time and effort they've put into selecting the software and looking into programs and thinking about it, because a lot of that spade work has already been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Scott said he had registration
Well, and I
forms ready
think
to go,
Jan-
so.
The police department has been
When did he
represented
have time
here
to do
all
that?
along, and they've probably thought about it also. Is it going to create more of a burden for them, or is it going to create more of an opportunity for compliance with general civil good order?
Have you thought about that?
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
That's why he keeps showing up.
Yep.
Yeah, but well, no, never mind.
Jed, do you need to get going?
I do need to
correct?
get going, because I gotta go up to the high school and.
Appreciate your coming.
Find a parking spot.
Thanks for coming, and
Yeah, enjoy the music tonight.
Right, thank you.
All bands night.
Plan to
at
see you.
Lawrence-
Bands night.
or the
plan to
Lawrence-
see you,
That
and
jazz, the high school jazz band won their regional competition, and they're going to statewide jazz competition on Saturday.
wow,
They are one of 12 bands from the state in
in the regional,
it's, there's a level 1 and a level 2, or there's a, I don't know what they call it.
Division.
Division 1 and Division
Right.
2,
Yeah.
so school size,
right,
probably. So,
okay, well, good luck.
and if they win, if they are in the top 5 in the state, they play in Boston at the Hat Show.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's
We just
very
learned that
exciting.
We just learned that tonight from Jenna.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, they should practice hard between now and Saturday.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jed.
Thank you.
all for your work on this, and sort of I apologize that we've been doing other things.
No worries, we'll see you Monday.
We'll see you
All right,
Monday. Thank you,
thanks.
Jed.
I don't think we ought to show up in mass at all.
No,
No, I don't think
Probably
that's a good
not.
idea.
I think if
You two go?
one or two of us, I just checked my calendar, and I would be available to attend to that evening.
As am I.
I'm available, but,
But if, I think
I
if,
don't yearn for more work,
But
so.
3 makes it,
No, we don't. I think you're absolutely right, just two.
yeah.
I think in particular, Doug, if you can go.
I can.
yeah,
Don't you know I'm so annoyed with them?
Yeah, I really, just.
yeah. I think I do actually hear Jed's point about not receiving, not us, we were not proactive, right? And I think that we.
Oh, come on.
And in their defense, Tom, they have been working through the IA septic regulations, which are that's been a very large undertaking. And so, could it have been on their radar? Yes. Could we have been proactive? Yes.
So they
Just,
They chose not to come.
They did.
That's their choice, and I respect that. I know they're busy, and yeah, I'm not faulting them for being too busy. And they told us plainly that they didn't plan to come. We've been working, and we've been posting our updated drafts online. It's all been available. They know that it's going on, so
Yeah,
just missed it because we just sent this to the printer.
and I think one thing that will help, and I think, it helped already for Jed, is to hear, when you read the bylaw, you don't know the reason, like all of the reasons that the decisions were made, right? And I think through our process, those decisions were very, very intentional. But the Board of Health isn't familiar with why did we choose that, and why did we choose that? Why did that get written? And so if even on Monday, just having some sense from 2 of the committee members that there were reasons that these things went the way that they went, may already be helpful. I think that there's a lot that can happen when someone feels as if they've been blindsided by something, whether or not they are justified in that feeling, right?
Well, as you pointed out, that's all spilt milk, and there's no point spending time on it.
Yep.
No,
There's
but
a
I
saying
do
my
think-
father-in-law says, but
I do
I'm on
think
TV,
the-
so I can't say it.
I do, I'm sorry, but I think the context of, what I read in the paper were just a lot of amorphous comments when they had all the opportunity to know what was there. I think that context is really important.
On a personal level, I've been somewhat annoyed and dismayed, not only by the Board of Health, but also by members of the Board of Selectmen that said that we didn't do a proper job in sharing our information. The information is there. If you want it, come and get it. We're busy too. There's a volunteer committee. Scott McGann, who they said is overworked, took it upon himself to come
He
here
was
for
great.
several of the meetings.
Exactly.
So to say that not one of the other members of the board could show up and give input, even if they didn't sit in the chair, I think is disingenuous.
Right.
And to kind of throw a grenade into all our work in the 11th hour, I think is unprofessional. And I'm not putting this on Jed, because he had the nerve to show up and speak to us and have an exchange. I'm just talking about the board in general. I think that's just wrong. And the select board did it as well. You know, the select board meets every other week so that they have a week off to reach out with and contact other committees and review committee work. And to say to us, you should have come. No, you gave us a charge. We achieved that charge. And I think we did a great job with the feedback that we had, the discussions we had.
And I gave them updates at the close of our meeting. We all do select board updates.
Yep.
Every time we had a meeting, I reported on it, and I said, there's a new draft on the website, check it out.
And, you know, Scott's on vacation, so good for him. And I didn't want to put words in his mouth, but really one of the senses I got from the many times that Scott appeared here is that he thought this was manageable.
Yeah.
And that was
He
one
said
of
it
the
several
reasons.
times.
That's one of the reasons why I was comfortable with going ahead with the inspection language, which I think Tom was right. It leaves a lot open. It's purposefully vague so that we can manage and work a way to have inspections figured out. And I think the inspections would be a great tool. And I think Scott was, you know, without trying to take an official position, was also very kind of in favor of a system like that.
He was
where-
navigating some tough,
Yep. And again, from my perspective as the police department representative, is having the registration, creating that contact. So we have somebody we can go to, because now you show up, well, I rented it on Airbnb, and here's the email address. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to have somebody there, to have a way to contact somebody and say, this is a problem, because they're right, like it's not, they're not gonna, they can call the Board of Health at 1 in the morning if there's something going on with the house, whether it's a nuisance thing or it's a, you know, a health thing, but there's nobody else that's gonna answer the phone except the police, so we're gonna be there. So to have that information was a critical component of this bylaw in terms of how the police viewed it.
Are you planning to be at town meeting and say all this?
I certainly will, I'm there, precinct
That'd be
8.
great,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it would also be a good thing for Doug and I to remember to communicate on Monday that this bylaw has the backing of our representative from the police department, and his experience feels that the structures that we've added
we have the back,
will make it easier for the police to do their job.
Yes.
and we have the backing from the select board.
We do.
Sort of.
No, no.
Four-fifths,
No, we,
but I think he's sorry.
I'm sorry?
I think Bob Niscali's sorry.
Well, whatever.
So,
Did you have something else, Eric?
I just wanted to give ammo to whoever's going, just from a legal perspective. Number one is things that you may want to consider if they raise it at the Board of Health. The Board of Health is actually, it's an administrative body. It is not a legislative body. This is as an offshoot of the Select Board, which is a legislative body. You are tasked with coming up with this. The Board of Health, the role of the Board of Health is to administer legislation, not to write it. Just from a practical matter. I think that I made it pretty clear, but if for some reason that doesn't get properly transmitted to the Board of Health, I'd also encourage you to just restate that the question of assessing liability for the town is the job of the town council,
Yeah.
not the Board of Health.
well, in my mind, I mean, whatever is on this registration, that person is at the end signing
Right.
that everything I've said here is true.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's not true, then
Right.
then the town's not liable because the person has agreed that they were telling the truth.
Eric, what is the council's office role in overseeing regulations before they're actually promulgated?
Are you speaking about any eventual Board of Health regulations that
I
they
am.
might It would be,
Title V.
generally, they would be sent to us for review, depending on what they were. For something like this, we would probably look at them, but we don't necessarily review everything, I don't think.
It's not a process that's in writing somewhere?
Well, I mean, we have regulation review. I'm sorry, but just because I'm newer to the town, I'm not familiar with, I don't want to give the incorrect answer.
I don't
Well,
think
We're- the town council is-
regulations
I think,
often.
yeah, we just did new Title V regulations back in November.
Right,
And that
how
was
often do you
promulgated by
do
the
new
Board of Health.
regulations?
Not every day.
Yeah, not often.
Yeah.
We've been printing them constantly, and we're not.
I would defer to Maura O'Keefe on that. I will say the town council certainly would be available to assist in the drafting or review of any of these regulations, which I would assume would probably happen in this case.
Okay. Yes, Tom?
I wanted to talk about communication strategy. Both, I think it's warranted to, that we issue something to the enterprise. I talked with Doug, and I drafted something that, if we all feel it's acceptable, I talked with John Paradisi, and he will accept it tomorrow morning. It's 2 pages, Doug thought it'd be better to pass it out today than,
I just felt like some of it was sort of,
what?
We should rewrite it tonight.
It's perfectly written.
I think some of it was,
Says the
seemed
author.
a little bit opinionated, so I didn't want
It's too long, I can tell that right
to put
away.
that on the committee when it was not, in a public meeting.
So,
We appreciate that.
Doug, I know you thought about my reading it, but I thought it'd be better to just take pieces of this and
Highlights?
move through it and let people
Okay.
read it, because we read at the first 2 pages. So just, why don't we just start at the first 2 paragraphs, and then we have 3 fundamental points, and we can knock off each of those. But, again, my hope is that we can approve it for tonight and submit it to tomorrow.
Is this the whole thing?
Guest commentary. Oh, yeah, by the way, on the key findings and the key provisions, you've seen this before, almost word for word. I rephrased some things, but there's not much new in that. It's, you can go through that part a lot quicker.
Well, for the benefit of the public, I wouldn't mind reading it if you don't,
I'm happy to, sure.
okay.
Before you start, may I ask, do you need any more town council input at this
I
meeting?
don't think so.
I don't think so.
You gonna catch a boat?
If only if
Absolutely.
you don't need me.
I
No,
don't think we do.
no,
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
no, Eric, always appreciate it.
Thank you for coming,
you.
appreciate it.
We're writing as the Select Board's Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee to correct the record from recent uninformed criticism of the upcoming town meeting Article 17 bylaw, to discuss our key findings and to discuss key provisions of the bylaw. In brief, we believe, and is strongly supported by the Select Board, that the town needs this short-term rental bylaw. It would create, for the first time in Falmouth, a long overdue framework to regulate short-term rentals that would preserve the residential character in which they operate. We ask readers and town meeting members to look at the bylaw as a whole. We suspect that many will find one provision to quibble with, but overall, this is a strategic first step to tackle this important problem. If I'm going too fast, just, you guys stop me.
Oh, it's fine.
There are 3 fundamental points to communicate regarding the uninformed criticism in the enterprise reporting and editorial. One, we regret that some members of the Board of Health are unfamiliar with their jurisdiction, but there is no good faith question as to the board's jurisdiction to oversee this bylaw. We know this from our research of other towns' similar bylaws, from consultation with town council, and from the support of the select board.
Can I pause you, Tom?
Sure.
I would also add, right, Charlotte's point that this is also the state,
Yes.
right?
From state law.
From the state law.
Okay, I'll add that.
It should be up at the top. Tom, this, I don't like the part that in any way blames, casts aspersions, denigrates, or even slightly belittles other parts of the town. I just really wouldn't sign on for it. I don't think that's good.
Yeah.
I think the point of us writing in the enterprise to reach as many Falmouth people as we can is to say, this is what we're trying to do, we hope you support it. That would be it. But this part about, these other people, they weren't with it, blah, blah, very negative. I would never support that.
I have to agree, I don't want to be more incendiary.
Right.
We
It
want
just causes trouble.
to calm them down rather than fire them up.
And people they're not attracted by conflict. They shun it, they flee from it. And I don't know why you would do that. I realize you're annoyed with them.
No,
Nobody else has to realize it.
Well, it's to, excuse me, but it's to correct the record,
No, we
There-
don't need to. We need to talk up our bylaw.
I think that there are, Tom, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm worried that there's the possibility, to further inflame when what we want to be doing is, I think there's a way to address the reporting and the editorial with slightly more moderate language, but still makes the point. So, for example, in this third paragraph, you could reframe it, the 3 fundamental points, and it's that, and then I would just make a declarative statement that this bylaw is under the purview of the Board of Health.
As per state law.
As per state law and this other work. And so that's we're coming at the point, but with more direct language.
So I can put that in the key findings.
I don't think you should rewrite it. I think that your animosity is just strong enough now that getting this rewritten in time for publication this week, one, it doesn't have to be published this week. There's not that big a rush. Town meeting is until, what, April 16th?
6.
Six, yeah.
Even so, this time, but I really, it didn't start with really the source of it, which is the state law, or the change in state law, or the fact that under current state law, commercial use of a residential area is currently illegal, and we're not trying to cut off anyone's livelihood. It doesn't have the main points that brought us together, and I'm not sure about this summary of the key elements either. I just wouldn't sign on to it.
Liz?
I might be the only one who feels that way.
I would also be curious, and I think, Tom, you're coming from, there was reporting last week, and there's a feeling of this, of wanting to respond without too long going by, right? Because
Right,
people
yeah,
talk.
definitely.
And sometimes once a
ferments.
negative idea
Ferments, yeah,
gets
yeah.
rolling, it can keep going. But I think that we want to go a little slower. And I'm also curious, and I would think maybe it would be a good idea for us to hold off on writing anything until we have a chance to have some direct communication between Doug and I and the Board of Health on Monday night.
And report back to us.
And then report back, and that may very well completely alter, I'm an optimist, right? So the glass is always half full, and
If we can answer all their questions and concerns on Monday night, things might be quite different.
then we might be,
I'm happy to hold off. I'm also, I'm a committee member, and, I want this to be a committee product, and I'm happy to send the document to anyone else who
I
wants
think
it.
the document really needs to be reformatted and rethought very thoroughly, but the Board of Health issue isn't the only issue that we want to bring before the town. we've been doing this, and we're really, deep in the weeds on it and everything, and very well informed, whereas a lot of the town meeting members who are our actual audience here, and the people who are running these programs in their houses now, they don't really know what we've been doing. I think we need to be clearer about it. We need to be more brief about it and concise about it, so it really conveys the right information. We need to be communicating with the town. And I think that the enterprise is a great route. That's the way we should be going, but not like this. This is the wrong tone.
Now, Tom, if you want to do
Yes.
a letter from yourself.
No,
as a
no,
single member.
I think it's vital the committee submits something and everyone happy with it, and I'm more than happy to turn it over to someone else.
Yeah, Tom, you've done a lot of work for us in drafting things and helping us and moving
Thank
us
goodness.
along. And I think that you've gotten so engaged in it emotionally.
Well, but these are 3 responses, I think, one way or another, we can turn them around proactively. But, just one thing, for example, the Board of Health jurisdiction is a dead issue.
It is.
And so I don't want to elevate it anymore. It can easily be in a key finding or in one of the provisions. Just for example, under one of the key elements, as per state law, the Board of Health has jurisdiction, and we can deal with it that way. But I don't want to be responding or inflaming this completely. I don't know where it's coming from that the Board of Health.
Maybe they'll have more time to read it this week and go to the meeting Monday and be more informed.
And
What I think is, I think it's a board, I think it's a very immediate reaction, right? And so what I think is that the Board of Health has been doing a lot of work in the last, well, I think they're a board like the zoning board and the planning board. They're boards with a lot of work associated with them. And then I think for those members who maybe hadn't followed along, whether or not that was their responsibility, it doesn't change the situation, right? And so I think the situation is you had a board who read this bylaw, and it sounds like this is going to be a lot more work for us, and we already have a lot of work to do. And that creates a reaction that can be very hard then to think rationally through and past, if that makes sense.
well,
So-
except for, as Charlotte pointed out, they made this same point a year ago. And, it's just a dog with a bone that they objected back at
But it's not
Charlotte's
the
committee.
dog that's of greatest interest at this time.
No,
Because they're going to have to do it if it gets passed by town meeting. I think addressing the town meeting members and the people who are really directly, their livelihood is involved in this business, are the people we should think of as our audience for what we put into the enterprise, not the Board of Health. I just, we don't have a bone to pick with them. We're trying to get along with them. Scott came to the very first meeting that the planning board had. You were there.
Yep.
And Scott said, I have too much work to do, I don't want to do it. Remember, that was his main point. And he made it almost every time he came to the meeting. I mean, it's just,
But because he kept coming and hearing the dialogue and understanding how it was going to be implemented, he finally realized that, man, maybe it was
Yeah,
manageable. And he
I
saw
think
the
so.
support from the town manager
I
as
think he
far as
also
assigning
saw
staff.
other communities on the Cape getting together their own bylaws because it's actually a problem that needs solving. And the state Supreme Court found that it's an illegal use of a residential zone, and that really put a fire under the whole thing. So I think that's really what was happening, not what we were doing. This is happening outside of us. The reality of the problem was growing, and he was responding to that. We all were,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, well, I guess Liz and I will go to the meeting on Monday.
Yeah, and then I think, like, right now, I'm working on an op-ed about the real estate tax exemption bylaw. That'll help, right, to try and give some perspective and explain that article for town meeting members. And I think it would be good to have something similar for this bylaw.
Yeah.
And again, I think that there's a way to address these concerns, but address those concerns when we're talking to, like Charlotte's saying, town meeting members and those that we're gonna need to support it.
Who's the audience?
Should we meet again after the Monday meeting?
No, I think so.
And then
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
craft our public document together?
Yeah, that's fine, but
We'll write the next
Liz,
draft.
when do you think you can take a crack at this? I know you have so little to do.
Yes, not much
Charlotte's
going
offering
on.
to draft a,
Charlotte, if you would like to draft it, I think that would be quite helpful.
Great, I'm going to do it.
take
Okay.
this for your notes.
Well, but I'll
Helpful.
send you the Word document. You know, some of it's
It's
good.
less marked up.
Okay. Fresh
Big
one.
X's through yours.
But the
I'm going to
other,
keep one, though, just because.
the other thing, though, that I want to talk about is at town meeting. I think it's vital we have a presentation with a PowerPoint.
Okay.
And that someone be willing to make the presentation. Doug, you're sitting up there as a select board. I don't know if you as our chair want to do it, or, you know, others of us can volunteer, but, I mean, let's just start with the basic idea. Shouldn't we have a
Who is
presentation?
capable of making the PowerPoint?
I'm sorry?
I'm not that
I know how to
skilled.
do
I
it.
am?
Okay.
Liz knows how to do it. Probably Jim knows how to do it. Mostly
Reluctantly,
people-
yes.
But, you know, to me, I think it would be, you know, from either this document or what you rewrite, but our key findings and the key points of this.
We don't
Right.
disagree. I think actually the town manager, from talking to him yesterday on this very point about, I think he's planning to say something.
Yeah, but somebody from this committee should present it, and I think Tom has a point. I'm sitting up on the
Reasonably.
select board,
Oh.
maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not the right person to do it?
Well, we can think about that at our next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, but, and I think you think about it, because you're the natural person also as our chair. So,
I don't mind doing it, but I'm open to reconsidering it.
the other, it's a minor point, but at town meeting, a couple rows are reserved for committee members. And I think it would be a really good idea when this comes up, that wherever we're sitting, that we move up there, but one of us may, you know, want to comment. But I think, until that, our moderator know that, or, you know, whoever's making the presentation can point out that we're also here to answer questions, but,
Yeah, so the presenter goes to the podium, and the other committee members stand beside them.
great,
Usually what we do.
okay, great.
And then if there's questions and the person who's doing the presentation doesn't have a quick answer, another member can do that.
Yeah.
Great,
Okay.
Have you looked at the warrant?
sure. It's in the paper.
Yeah.
But it-
I think it's a two-night meeting. It's a long warrant.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Probably.
You know, it's
Fingers crossed for that blanket vote.
yeah,
Yeah, but this is going to be held.
Yeah, this will be held, but
You know, we have no-
we get a lot of the other ones.
Yep. Okay,
so what, the next item on our agenda is actually to approve the draft minutes from February 4th.
I move approval with thank you.
Approve the minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you read them?
Sure.
Sure. I thought they were great.
They are great minutes.
Okay, so motion from Doug to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I wasn't here, so. I'll
Okay.
abstain.
All right.
Should we?
We should set a
for
date.
Next week's meeting?
Do you want to do it again next Wednesday?
You know, I'm not.
I cannot, my husband's been invited to give a talk at the Goethe Institute in Boston.
Okay.
Which is like pretty big deal. He's like, I think I have to buy a
Where?
suit jacket. The Goethe Institute?
I got something on
G-O-E-T-T,
Thursday, so I can't do
Oh,
that.
Greta.
Tuesday's St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if that impacts anyone.
But Doug, you know, I don't feel a compelling need that we do it next week. I mean,
The week after is town meeting.
Oh, it's full of town meeting.
Precinct meetings.
meetings.
It doesn't have to be next week, but
well, I'm free next Thursday. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not.
I got something on Thursday, 5 o'clock to.
I'm not free next Wednesday or Thursday.
How about Tuesday? I mean, I know it is St. Patty's Day, but
There's a
I'm
planning
not
board
Irish.
meeting, so I have to do that.
I'm
I do
Scottish, does that
Monday
count?
night.
Is Tuesday okay for anybody?
No, it's planning board,
Oh, right.
oh,
right.
You guys start at 6, huh?
Yeah, 6:30.
Oh,
Could you
We
make
could meet
5?
beforehand.
Could we meet at 5 on
Yeah, that'll be
Tuesday?
quick.
Would that be
And one thing,
possible?
can't we, I know that you're going to take notes from the Board of Health. Why not send them around? You know, why prolong this? So that we can see, well, what happened there? Is there anything that we have to do something about?
Well, and that one's, they're on FCTV, right? Board of Health?
They are.
well, but I think we.
but we can, I can take some note, I'll bring my computer, so that I can take some notes. So are you all proposing,
Tuesday
Tuesday
at
the-
5 be okay?
I'm just
If
pulling,
we can
Well,
find a
but
room?
let's do what we can in advance by email, because I can do up the draft of what I think would make a good editorial for the enterprise, and you all can look at it and comment on it, and we can, you know, build it that way.
But isn't that deliberation that?
Yeah, we
you're-
can't comment it via email. We can't really.
no, but we can
deliberate
have a
outside of the
draft
public meeting.
with our own comments.
Yeah, you can send
ready.
it to us, and we can receive it, and we can read it, and we can make notes on it.
Okay.
But we
just so
can't
can,
reply
you know,
back and
move
say,
it
good
along.
idea, or bad idea, or whatever.
Did you read Troy Clarkson's editorial op-ed piece that he wrote rebutting what Mara had said to chastise John Drewley?
I did not.
Would you like to know the gist of it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Sure.
I'll tell it to you.
We should cancel the meeting first.
Yeah. Wait.
So,
Are we-
Wait a second.
Wait, we have
meeting
to-
Tuesday at 5?
Is that good for everybody?
Yes, that's good for me.
Okay,
Tuesday at 5?
Tuesday at 5 is fine.
I will find us a room.
Okay. So,
And then we did the minutes, so we're
We
ready
did
to
the minutes, that was
adjourn.
it. We need, I move to adjourn.
Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor?
aye.
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 Okay, so now.